To share a little bit about polarity, which is another modality that I use a lot of. Most people are familiar with polarity. It talks about energy in, energy out, positive, negative, however you want to look at it. So when we look at energy in the body, we want there to be a flow of energy in and out, or positive and negative. If you know me by now, you know that I follow a lot of things that are all energy and frequency. So every organ in our body has a specific frequency. Every spinal segment has a frequency. Literally everything in our body, our thoughts, beliefs, emotions, auras, chakras, we all have different frequencies. The body cannot, I don't want to say live, but you'll have a lot of disease if you are either in a acidic state or your frequencies are low vibrational. So when we look at overall healing, we also want to look at where are your frequencies, where are you vibrating? So, and if your body is alkaline. When we talk about vibrational frequencies, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, you can think about like the frequency, or how do you feel when someone gives you gratitude or joy? You feel pretty happy, you feel light, energetic, hopefully. If somebody pisses you off, or you have sadness, or you have anger, then that's going to bring you down to a lower frequency. And unfortunately, a lot of people live there, okay? So this is what I'm going to kind of talk about today too. Plus this has come up quite a bit in a lot of my other groups. Sometimes when you're using different like acupuncture patches or even ANF therapy, sometimes just trying to find healing, you're not maybe getting better fast enough. It could just be because your polarity is switched or reversed. So it is somewhat of a neurological thing. I have a couple notes here I'm just going to refer to, because sometimes when I start talking, I just go off on tangents. So when we talk about polarity, we want to understand that we have positive and negative. So the top of our head, okay, or north, is positive. When we go down to our feet are now negative, okay? So that's the balance between the top and the bottom. We got positive and negative. When we look at the right side of our body, the right side of our body is positive. The left side of our body is negative, okay? We can also go into the middle part of our thorax here. So at the top is going to be more positive, and if we zip down, the negative polarity is going to be more at the bottom. So thinking like the bladder, pelvic floor area, okay? When we look at our fingers, if I have my right hand, so here's my right hand, my right index finger is going to be positive, followed by negative, followed by positive, followed by negative. Okay? My left hand is going to be slightly different. My left hand, the index finger is going to be positive, negative, positive, negative. Your thumbs are going to be neutral. Okay? So if you're palpating, looking for things, make sure you're not using your thumbs, because that's going to be neutral energy. Okay, so we want fingers, 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 fingers. Where else was I going to go with that? If we want to look at chakras, if you're someone who looks at chakras, obviously we want to have all of our chakras spinning in a clockwise pattern. That's going to be positive energy. And if they're spinning counterclockwise, that's going to be more of a negative energy. We can also look at our hand. So the palm side of our hand is going to be the south side, or the positive polarity. The back of our hand is going to be the north side, or our negative polarity. You can always remember that by using the saying, palm is power, back is slack, okay? We also have the pads of our fingers, which are going to be south or positive. And then the nail itself will be north or negative, okay? So how do we establish polarity? There's a couple of different ways. I've been taught a couple different ways. I'm going to show you the ways that I've been taught. So the easiest is to just stand with your feet about hip width apart, slight bend in the knee. Okay, you don't want to stand with locked out fingers. You can do this with your eyes open or closed. I've been doing this for a while, so I can do it with my eyes open. Maybe if you're new to this and you want to feel what you're supposed to be feeling, you might want to do with your eyes closed. So what you can do first off is just state your name. So I'm going to show you from the side what's going to happen. So my name is Becky. And now I'm going to say someone else's name. My name is Dave. So obviously you can see I went forward when I stated my name and went backwards when I stated someone else's name. So for me, my polarity is normal. I should go forward, so that's going to be my yes, and then backwards is going to be my no. I can also do this with show me a yes, and then show me a no. Okay, so obviously for me, forward is yes, backwards is no. Now you can also use your hand, okay? So I'm going to take my palm down over top of my head, and I'm just going to say, show me a yes. And now I'm going to flip my hand over so my palm is now facing the ceiling, and I'm going to say, show me a yes. So now I went backwards. So now that means that my polarity is flipped, okay? If you find that your polarity is flipped, sometimes people will state the wrong thing. They might have things backwards. Like you might want to say, it's my right hand, but your left is what comes out of your mouth. You might put numbers slightly backwards. You're kind of somewhat disconnected. That can be a sign that polarity is reversed. It can also be a sign if you're not healing well fast enough, okay? So how do you get your polarity back on track if you're off? So there's a couple different ways. The easiest one for me is just using a metal spoon or something metal, okay? And you're just gonna rub underneath the bottom of your foot a couple times, both feet. Usually that will correct your polarity. So then you go back, palm over top of your head, and then you'll say, either state your name or say, show me a yes. And then show me a no. Good. Okay. If you're still switched, you might need to do it again. Another different way is by using your kidney points here. I believe these are the K27 points. So here's your collarbone, right underneath the collarbone. There's two little points here. And then if you take your belly button and just kind of rub for a wee bit. I usually do about, 10 seconds or so. And then recheck your polarity. My name is Becky. My name is Dave. Okay. Another way that I like to use, and this is where my patches come into play, and unfortunately I don't have the right patches here for me, but I would have a patch on either side, kind of right around where my kidneys are. So I believe that's bladder meridian. Again, you would want to make sure the positive's on the right, the negative is on the left, okay? You can keep those patches there for a couple minutes, and then you can recheck your polarity, okay? Another way that you can switch yourself back to normal is just tapping the bridge of your nose. So it's just light taps. Tap, 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 tap. And then again, you can recheck your polarity. So hand over the head, show me a yes, and then show me a no. If you are someone who doesn't like the sway test, there are other ways that you can self-muscle test. I personally like the sway test. It's pretty easy. If I'm in a store shopping and I'm looking for products, or I'm not sure maybe which olive oil to get or which CBD to get or whatever, I will just hold it to my chest and do a sway test. No one's going to know what the heck you're doing. It's going to be a little bit more obvious if you're doing this or this or this, okay? So those are other ways. There is the circular technique where you have one circle finger gets interlaced, and then you could say, show me a yes, and then show me a no. You can do the index finger through the circle, show me a yes, show me a no. And then you can do, this is not my favorite one, but I know some people like to do it. You're just simply going to push down onto your index finger. So you can say, show me a yes, and then show me a no. So for that one, for me, I'm switched for some reason. I always have been. I don't really care for it, which is why I don't do it. I don't trust it. I trust the sway test, and I trust if I'm actually physically muscle testing my arm. So those are the two that I like to use. If anyone has any questions, wants to learn a little bit more, stay tuned. I'm going to show a couple more videos on how you can muscle test to figure out which Cepheid to use when you're using the AO scan device. I will try to have a client in the room with me while I'm scanning them. We'll go through the different Cepheids, and then you can actually see how I muscle test. And that can be done a couple different ways too. When you're working on someone, it's going to look a little bit different versus muscle testing yourself. So muscle testing's fun. You have to practice it. It is like another language. I will tell you, if you're not grounded, if you have a lot of stuff going on in your head, maybe you're stressed out, someone pissed you off that day, your test results may be inconsistent. If you're dehydrated, your test results could be inconsistent. I know there's more, but I'm not thinking of them right now. So practice, practice, practice. My advice is to practice with easy things first. And then as you start trusting what your yes is, like your yes should be consistent, your no should be consistent so that you don't have to second guess, then you can start playing around with a little more complicated questions. Always make sure the question that you're asking is very direct. Like, do I need this oil today? Is this oil good for me now? Do I need 5 drops of CBD oil? Do I need 6 drops of CBD oil? If you ask how many drops of CBD oil, you're not going to get an answer because it's not a direct, clear question. Okay? So think about that. Let me know if you have any questions. I think that's it.